I wanted to put this video together because I have been studying astrology, my own chart in particular, for the last few months, and I've come across, I guess, a few placements that I haven't been able to find really good information on. And one of those placements is Pluto in Libra in the 12th house, which is a really interesting placement. And there's a lot of information out there that kind of brings you back to the typical explanations of, what the astrological sign means and what the house represents, but doesn't really dive deep into what it is experientially to have Pluto and Libra in the 12th house. So I wanted to put this video together to share with others, and also to hopefully meet a few people who have this placement, to be able to communicate with them and just compare notes and sort of see what their experience was. So far, I've been looking over many charts. I haven't encountered anyone who has this placement. And so, yeah, it will be interesting to hear what others have to say. So just to prefix this, my studies in it are very preliminary, and I haven't been studying astrology in depth for a very long time. So obviously, regarding regarding practices of sovereignty, just be your own authority, and just in general, that's one of my one of my main teachings is listen to your own internal guidance, and obviously, reaching out to others and gaining insight through what they've learned is a part of the process. But always go back to what you're sensing and what you've studied, to come to conclusions on navigating your own solar spiral. So yeah. So basically, what I've been trying to master as I study my own chart is how to navigate my spiral. So depending on what sort of planets you have in the various constellations, you're going to experience life in a very different way. So everybody has their unique path, and it's really interesting because it's helped me accept people more, looking at their charts, being able to track exactly where some of their behaviors come from, and and just understanding that this system is a very, very old system that has a lot of truth to it. I don't know, it's interesting because I always try to keep an open mind with things, and look at things as evolving, but astrology in general, particularly if you have like the exact time and place that you were born, you can gain a lot of insight into who you are, why you do the things you do, and kind of what sort of energies you're going to come up against in your lifetime to overcome, what sort of challenges you're going to face, and basically just understanding your natural disposition more. So why Pluto in Libra is such a big deal to having your chart is why I'm making this video, and also to help people navigate when they do have this placement in their chart through this lifetime, because it is an extremely powerful placement to have. And there's a few others out there that I can kind of put up there with that will have an equal impact, but it's definitely one of a few. So what it means, what does it mean to be this? Okay, you will serve many different purposes to many different people. And I guess that's a blanket statement that we can pretty much apply across the board, but this placement in particular will, in a sense, turn you sort of into a chameleon. So, the energies of Pluto, are all about, transformation, death and rebirth, hidden forces, sex, the extremes, violence, chaos and order, power. Pluto is considered to be one of the outer planets. It's unseen to the eye, so its force comes in, and it's sort of like comparable to the hand of God. It's like this divine intervention that propulses us into change and transformation. And it has to do with the mysteries because it is unseen, and it's connected to merging and bonding on the deepest levels. So it's an extremely intimate planet, and its energies are felt in a very visceral way. Often, it just, it's one of those planets that just will, push you to the edge of where you need to go in order to transform and evolve on your spiral. Libra is, it's basically, it's the constellation of balance, justice. It's the constellation of beauty, love, harmony, relationships. It's everything to do with, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to other people, and And so Pluto and Libra in the 12th house, the 12th house being, it's Pisces, so it's basically it's the last house, and it is the culmination of all the lessons from the previous houses. And it's usually described as, it's similar in intensity to the 8th house, which is Pluto, but it is closer in a sense to the higher realms. It is more abstract, more elusive, and it's not felt like when Pluto comes in, you're going to feel it really, really intensely. Whereas when Pisces, the 12th house comes in, you're going to feel it, but it's going to be like you won't be able to really put your finger on it. But the power of it is just as intense. So in the 12th house, things are often hidden from you. It is the depths of your subconscious mind. It is the deepest realms, the highest realms that we can kind of tap into here as humans on this planet. And so the 12th house is, they associate it with tons of things, and I'll let you go into other videos and kind of listen to the generalization, the generic explanation for, whether you're looking at Pluto, Libra, or the 12th house. But this is kind of what I put together based on my experience of this placement, because when I found this placement, it was a huge aha moment, and put a lot of things into perspective, put a lot of things to rest, helped me really just feel more accepting of my life, different situations that occurred, and hopefully it'll do the same for you if you do realize that you have this placement on your spiral. Why Pluto is such a big deal to have in your chart, and why it's important to know this placement inside and out, is to really be able to navigate through this lifetime properly. So the exalted form of this placement is basically just being able to surrender to the death and rebirth process. Until the ultimate goal is, until we become enlightened and merge our consciousness with God's spirit or with the higher force, which allows us to harness the power of this placement by allowing spirit to work through us. So, if there's any resistance to the death and rebirth process that this placement brings into your life, you will experience a lot of suffering. So it is best, if you do have this placement, truly just to surrender to the forces of these energies, and when they come in, and just allow whatever is being worked through you to be met with humility within yourself. The lower expressions of this placement are, are caused by resistance to what is arising through us, so, and around us, because it is that Libra energy will constantly be pulling in people. So the experience is, it's with the self, it's with the depths of that 12th house, but it is also very connected to the depths of the the minds, the subconscious minds of other people around you. So, resisting the transmutation process that spirit needs you to go through to reach enlightenment through this placement, and to be a vehicle for divine intervention will not be a pleasant one. So becoming a vehicle for divine intervention, is what this is about. Spirit wants to work through you and to use you as a vehicle to heal others, to play your part within the divine order of things. So one of my favorite mantras for this, which I've been practicing for a long time, like this energy I've felt for many years, but really just seeing it in my chart now and understanding like it's right there, has been interesting. So my mantra for this is, I rest in submission to divine synergism. So this placement brings a lot of magic and mystical experiences through other people, through groups, that Libra energy. It's calling in all of this unseen energy, all this subconscious energy from the people that you come into contact with. So simply resting in submission to the energy that is being provoked, and it's through divine synergism. It is completely out of our control. We are even blinded to what is going on until things start to present themselves, because that 12th house just keeps everything hidden away from us. And that's why we have to keep on dying and being reborn, because it will come straight out of the, out of nowhere, out of the depths of the subconscious, out of the depths, and emerge into the light. And then we're like, oh my God, this was right there. So there's a lot of just, surrendering to that and knowing that it is going to be a really intense process. So ultimately, like, if you come down here to, with this placement, you have a life path to be at service to the highest light. You're going to be required to trust that all is in divine order. To trust that all things flowing in and around you are weaving through you with a divine intelligence way more powerful and supreme to anything that you are able to perceive. Because the things are coming from such depth, from within yourself and from within the people around you. It's very difficult to kind of understand, what is going on, because it's part of this grand master plan, right? Like, everything has an order, even though it seems to be chaotic. There is like total order happening, and things are working themselves out on layers that we can't even fathom. So this placement is specifically here, working through people, doing that, is, bringing order to things that need to happen, bringing things into action, bringing things into the light that need to come into the light, that are coming from places that are way beyond our capacity for understanding. So, ultimately, this placement will destroy the ego over and over and over again in order to do what it has to do as it works through you, but also just to, to bring you closer to the divine will, so that you can merge on the deepest levels with spirit while you are here incarnate. Again, like when spirit is using you as a vehicle for divine intervention, like resistance is futile. And I have gone through periods where like I wouldn't let my ego break down. And when I was going through periods where I wouldn't let my ego break down, like there's massive cognitive dissonance, and also, your body can produce illness over time from like holding back and just not allowing that transformation to occur. So having really, really good practices in place. First, knowing that this is, if you have this placement, this is going to happen. It has nothing to do with you, in the sense of, you won't be able to maybe understand where it's coming from necessarily, but know that if you have this placement, you need to take care of yourself, and you need to be aware that this process is going to happen over and over and over again. It's not going to go away. It's continually going to evolve, and you will just get better at managing it and allowing the energy to flow through you and do what it has to do. So, the only way to just flow with it is to trust and let go to what is arising. And trusting that, the role spirit is asking you to play has its purpose on the grand stage, inconceivable to the petty ego and thought process of the mind. In this sense, you become like a chameleon, reflecting back to the people you interact with exactly what they need to see to become whole. It is out of your control, so you might as well let go. So I wrote that down. And, the chameleon aspect, Libras are often seen as chameleons. Libras tend to be people who please, and who want harmony, who want beauty, who want to come into coherency with those around them. And so they are often just kind of absorbing the energy and reflecting back. Their war is the last thing on Libra's mind, and so it wants to come into union with those around them. So my experience of this is, coming into union is coming into synchronicity with people's energy frequencies, and then it's like all of a sudden you're swept away and you're part of that energy frequency, and what is spontaneously arising from within you is that reflection that person needs, that person ultimately needs as divine intervention in their life. So what differentiates this from like Libra and other places on the solar spiral is that it is squeezed between Pluto, the 8th house, and and the 12th house in Pisces, which is Neptune. So it's squeezed between those two energies, the energy of hardcore death and rebirth, and the energy of Neptune, which is, all about moving, transferring energy from one place to another. So first it changes it, it morphs it, and then it transfers it. So, you're likely to be involved in a lot of different groups with a lot of different people. And, you don't know why you're being called to this area, you're being called to this group. Now you're working with these people. And, if you're in flow with your life path, you'll find yourself in a whole bunch of really, really interesting situations. And, often you will be the cause point for many times disruption within that group, but like the destruction that brings order. So kind of this energy comes in like a storm, and then it's the calm after the storm that this placement is producing. That's the ultimate goal, is to produce the order through the chaos. So, some things to just know and understand about this placement is that, you are here to clear up multiple timelines. That's why you will be called into these different groups. And, and you will attract people who have suffered great trauma. Because of all of the things hidden from yourself. Like it's a karmic, the placement is karmic. So it's karmic in nature. And everything that's in the 12th house for you is hidden from you. And it's all this karmic stuff that you're clearing up through this placement. This placement is here to help you clear it up. So that will attract, other people who are doing the same. And, and obviously, until you've done your own healing work, you will not be able to assist people with clarity and, very well through this placement. It could be very chaotic. So, you have to do the healing work on yourself, which I'll talk about a bit further down. So, this work can only be done after you've gone through a certain amount of realization, self-realization, awakening within yourself to your own trauma, and also the karma that you've accumulated through past lives. So I experienced many different lifetimes through very mystical experiences, because this placement will cause you to have extremely mystical experiences. You will also be born with a vast reservoir of, occult knowledge as well. And, you'll probably have experienced lifetimes of war, slavery, plague, you name it. So this placement comes in so that all of these things can be transmuted. And as you transmute them within yourself, you're going to attract others who are doing the same work. And the interaction between the two will allow these energies to be resolved. So you will likely have been born with an equal amount of trauma, pre-birth. Let's say, for example, a lot of trauma within your mother's bloodline, your grandparents. You have to do the research and do the work and find out what's there. Go into meditation with it and ask to receive all that information. Or it could have been that the trauma was inflicted upon you in the earliest stages of your life, such as while you were still in the womb, or during your early childhood years. So this is just, from what I've read and across the board, it seems like this is what this placement is. And if you have this placement, you have experienced these things, or you are coming into a bloodline that has experienced these things. So you're here clearing up multiple timelines, clearing up multiple bloodlines, and this is a big undertaking. So be gentle on yourself and understand that until you've started doing the work, if you haven't started doing your own healing work, I recommend you do it, because this placement is a lifetime. You have to be dedicated to the healing process and the healing journey, because it is a bulk of the work that you're here doing. And because you've come in with this energy, there's a really palpable sense, you can feel this energy, and other people feel it, and you will attract others that need healing, and that have suffered great trauma as well. So, so before I really understood and understood what this was and started doing the healing work for myself, what would happen is as these people would be drawn towards me, I would feel like it was an attack. Like, they were coming subconsciously. People won't know necessarily why they're so attracted to you, but they will be drawn to you, and like they're coming in with all this darkness, and you're like, oh my God, like what is going on? Why am I attracting these types of people? And it is because, there is, it's like just the natural laws, right? Like that 12th house energy of all that stuff that you're clearing holds a whole bunch of darkness, which is also like the keys and the gifts to healing once you started doing the work. So as you're doing that, you're going to attract all these people, and they know intuitively that you can heal them. So, but they won't understand why. So they might even be a bit like resentful as to why they're feeling so drawn to you. So just understand that this dynamic is taking place, and that you have to have an excellent routine for purifying your energy, your mind, your body, your emotions. If you do not have an excellent routine in place, again, this placement will cause a lot of havoc. So I constantly clear my energy. Like I take salt baths all the time. I have stones that I work with, like really intense. Adrene is one of them. Pure raw noble shungite is another. Smoky quartz, obsidian, jet, like a lot of the black stones that just help with protection. I carry them around with me pretty much everywhere I go. So, if you're taking care of yourself, you won't feel like this placement is a curse. Rather, you'll feel like it's a gift, because you'll understand that you are in servitude to the higher force. You are playing a role of clearing up like tons of stuff, which is a gift to yourself, others, and humanity, right? So, 50%, like I've been listening to like people describe this placement, and they talk about the hidden enemies, and it is true that there's going to be a really huge number of people that will come into your life, and they will actually be hidden enemies. Like it won't take long, usually up to a year, but they will in some way, shape, or form reveal to you that they are actually an enemy. But they'll be drawn to you for the healing, and they will be thinking about you and trying to merge with you and bond with you on the deepest levels, because instinctively they know you can assist them in healing their wounds and raising themselves out of inner turmoil. So just know that this is there, this dynamic is happening, and stand strong. Like, don't back down and dim your light. You are here as a healer, and when you're on this path and you started doing the healing work, your intentions are pretty pure, and you're working for the collective, so you're not taking things personally. But the initiations into this and just understanding what it is can be very painful and hurtful, because you'll be open and kind of just in this really loving space with everybody, and then you will encounter a lot of people that are just coming in with really hidden agendas and motives, and and that don't actually have your best interest in mind, and that will kind of cut you down when you're not looking. So hurt people, right? And it's as simple as that. So don't take the actions of your hidden enemies to heart. The more esoteric meaning of this within this placement is that secret enemies are the fuel for your growth within this placement, working with this placement. Like, these people are actually a gift because, Pluto is demanding that you die and be reborn. And it does it through hidden enemies. And it will do it as many times as necessary to purify and enlighten you. Because you'll constantly have to just let go to expectation, let go to what you thought was, your heart will break over and over again. But this is the process. And so once you set yourself up properly, it doesn't mean that you can't trust anyone, or that you should set your thoughts up in a way that you're expecting betrayal from everyone around you. But just know that it is very common, and it is part of this placement. It's part of how this energy will work through you to transform you and to heal others, to provide an opportunity for others to heal and to resolve their own karma. So don't fall into the darkness of paranoia, and stay steadfast to the path of the exaltation of this placement is maintaining pronoia. So always seeking the best in people, but staying aware that this placement is going to be bringing this dynamic into your life. So you'll experience this over and over until you develop a deep compassion for the most wounded members of society. Keep a close circle of highly trustworthy friends that you can replenish your heart energy with. It'll really be like a true oasis of genuine love and support. You have to have your trustworthy friends. If you have this placement, you need to have, doesn't have to be a huge network, but a really, really strong network of people that you trust entirely, and that you'll be able to feel it after a little while. You can discern what types of energies you're working with, and if you've understood, like you've discerned, okay, this is actually a hidden enemy, you don't have to burn bridges with them, but you want to maintain compassion and understand, again, going back to what this is about them resolving karma. And it's not about you, it's not personal, but they are going to be working. Your energy is going to be stimulating and activating a lot in them. That is going to be causing a lot of transformation. So that's going to be causing a lot of pushback from them. And just understand, what this is. And you'll be fine. So the discernment is really important. Just understanding where people stand in your life. And, as time goes on and you mature, and especially being in awareness of this placement, the greater your capacity for forgiveness, love, and compassion, those will become your sort of inner clarity and your heart medicine. So yeah, Pluto in the 12th house is meant to expose and break down, not only resolve karma and transform yourself and those around you in a very intense way, to bring to the surface a lot of darkness, but it is also meant to break down, in-group, out-group dynamics, for example, that have kept humanity in a loop of divide and conquer, fear and separation since the beginning of time. So this placement plays a role in ensuring that no man, woman, or child will be left behind. All karmic relationships will be met with gratitude, and in this sense they can be resolved. So you'll find yourself often in situations where, you're in a network, and all of a sudden you are activating, you are catalyzing a transformation, not only within, specific people that are drawn to you or partnerships, but within groups. And, and I think this is also why this placement brings people into solitude, because these interactions are very intense. So we kind of come out of them and then we're like, okay, I need to go and replenish myself. and relax and come back to my center. Because group dynamics are big. And once you start harnessing, like once you start really harnessing this placement, you're just going to allow spirit to run through you and do what it has to do within different groups. And, your ego won't be involved as much. It'll just be like, okay, this is what needs to happen here. All right, and this is what needs to be said, and you'll see group dynamics will change. And again, like I said earlier, after chaos comes the calm, right? So there's always a purpose to this, and just surrender to that. Also what I found mastering this placement, and I can't say that I'm a master yet, but I've really been working on this quite intensely for many years, is, to, it's like you will eventually evolve into a disaster shaman of sorts, for individuals and for groups, who just basically harmonizing and distilling all that traumatized energy, people that have been lost, forgotten, forsaken, will be reintegrated into society and will begin to heal. So the ultimate goal is to bring you into unity with the higher force itself, right? This teaches the wisdom of unity and the interconnectedness of all things. This placement forces you to become the mediator within every group dynamic you find yourself in, when you've surrendered to it and bringing everything back into harmony and balance. Yeah, so I'm just going through my notes here, and a lot of it is repetition, but I think it's good to kind of just repeat a few of these things. Like, every person who's brought into your life is there for a specific reason. Like, it is, it is not by coincidence. It is very specific, and mastering the art of detachment, faith, and gratitude towards each person and relationship is key, because there will likely be many people, many relationships, and most of them will undergo a great deal of transformation. So people will come and, give and receive very specific teachings and lessons, and then often they will just go, right? So it's like you're a magnet, and they're coming to you to receive, that divine intervention or that catalytic energy to transform. And then, once they've experienced that, then, they can leave, and there will no longer be a magnetic pull drawing them towards you, because they've received what they had to. So if there's any placement that I've, that can speak to soul contracts, like, this is the placement of soul contracts. Like, you are here specifically with specific soul contracts, and you will feel when you meet these people, like, there's a specific distinct energy when you meet people that you have a soul contract with, and especially big ones, and you'll just know, you're like, okay, here we go, because this energy is going to work through me, and it's going to do what it has to do. So tools to assist with these intense relationships and transformative experiences is to really cultivate your relationship to spirit above all else. So the higher force never leaves your side, right? Like, the higher force is present in all things within this reality field: the trees, the animals, the sky, the wind. So each person on this planet is a soul which comes from this infinite source of love. We are all born from this higher force, and we shall never be apart from it. So, just cultivating the eyes to see the higher force all around you, and really developing your relationship with that higher force will just allow you to gain objectivity of this placement, like rise above it, right? You can rise above all of the earthly dealings and the soul contracts and and the various emanations of consciousness in the physical, and just that's how I found that I've been able to maintain an open heart through different situations and scenarios with various people that were extremely transformative. So you have to see yourself as like the gatekeeper, that person given the task to allow spirit to move through you in whichever way it wants, to bring karmic cycles to an end. You are here to provide an equal opportunity to all people to start fresh and renewed. And at times they will hate you for this, and at times you will be celebrated. So most will sense and know that they have finally let something die within them that was no longer serving their highest good and purpose here on earth, so that they can step more fully on their path. But that is usually a painful process. So staying connected to spirit, cultivating relationship with spirit, and really just being in love with spirit and with experience is all we can do, truly. So it is a big death, it's just letting the ego die. So what else do I have here on my notes? I have people with Pluto and Libra in the 12th house, and those whom entangle their energy with these people when on a more intimate level, whether physically, energetically, emotionally, or physically, will have a deep knowing that the encounter was predestined or fated. Okay, just went over that. So due to this, you will often experience a very strong attraction or diversion from those you encounter, as mentioned. And, a strong repulsion or rejection can also be felt from secret enemies. They will be drawn to you to experience what is needed while simultaneously resisting you for being the one that they are destined to fulfill their soul contract with. Okay, so again, seeing this for what it is and rising above it, embracing your purpose. Use high vibratory mantras to maintain a vibration of expansion, love, and grace through all these unravelings. Like, I literally say mantras all day long. It's a way to purify the mind, because this placement is also extremely empathic. So Pluto and Libra in the 12th house, like you will touch upon like experiences of telepathy and that sort of thing. Like, especially if you're connecting with someone that you have a soul contract with and that that that's happening, you feel the energy is just super intense. Like, you will start to merge with this person on a very deep level, and when that happens, I just move into purifying my mind space and going into center, going into circle, doing the daily practices of just connecting with myself, but also just like repeating mantras, because this will allow you to interact with that person in a healthy manner. So at first, when people come at me and I feel their energy kind of merging and bonding with me, I would get really freaked out, and I would often, sort of fight it in my mind, like, rah, like, why is this person? And, and then I'd engage in that rivalrous kind of dynamic. And, now understanding that there is such a deep purpose in when this happens, just allowing it, and then knowing that, when that energy comes in, you can filter it, purify it through mantras, so that the exchange through the entanglement is one that is uplifting and, and is purifying. Also worth mentioning is like look to see what placement this, what it's aspecting in your chart, because depending on the other planets that it's aspecting, will show you like where it will be affecting, where it will be showing up in various aspects of your life. So for example, if this placement is aspecting your Venus, be prepared to enjoy strange interference in your love relationships, and often find yourself in these weird love triangles, or meddling energies, a lot of rivalrous or jealous energies around you. So just hold space for that, and know that this placement is going to bring that if it is aspecting your Venus. And if it's aspecting your moon, you're going to be picking up on a lot more, and you have to really just move into the pronoia versus the paranoia, because you will be feeling like these hidden intentions and motives around you. You will be picking up on them, but don't be the curious cat needing to chase everything. You'll feel it, you'll know that it's there, but you want to stay focused on your path, like what you're trying to create in the world, and that as things arise and as things come into the light, everything will be seen. Like eventually everything gets resolved. So try not to get caught up in that feeling, because when I looking back and understanding this placement now, like that feeling used to drive me crazy, because I would feel it happening, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And the same before a lot of my past lives were unraveled to me, or shown to me, and before I started doing the healing work, like I would feel this stuff in my subconscious mind, and I wouldn't be able to put my finger on it. And then slowly as things evolve, like everything will be shown to you. So don't worry, everything comes to the light. And everything is eventually explained in one way, shape, or form. If it's not, explained in a way that, like, sometimes we just can't understand how the mystery is working, there will just be a felt sense of resolution. Like, that something's been resolved. So you're like, okay, I didn't see that one. That one didn't actually come fully into the light for me to clearly see with, the mind, the intellect, but I feel, I felt it come out, pass through, and then go into a place of resolve. So, yeah, release all attachment to those you hold dear. I know that sounds really bad, but like, you have to understand that, this placement just requires you to be detached and to be selflessly loving, to those around you, and to understand that, you need to stay focused on your passions, on higher learning, like observing everything that's happening and just taking it in, like being in awe with, wow, how the divine works through divine intelligence and through you and through other people. And really enjoy like the mystical experiences that this placement brings, because there will be like a lot of them. It'll just be like all of a sudden there'll be really strong connections between various groups, dynamics, different things, and you'll start to see the mystery kind of show itself through interactions and through this, this deep bonding, and things will slowly get resolved, and things will work their way to the surface, and it is beautiful to watch. So yeah, encountering multiple mystical experiences will help you understand the nature of reality through this placement. The magic that two human beings can create together, and how interwoven and interconnected all of this is. It will propel you into deeper studying, like esoteric and occult and spiritual knowledge and wisdom. Like, it'll bring you deep into that. So you probably, if you have this placement, you won't be working like you will be doing something, some type of work that has to do with the
drawn
imagination.
to doing work where you can keep one foot
in the underworld and 1 foot in this reality. That's the nature of this placement, and so it'll just be very natural for you to expand in those areas. So keep this in mind, and we're really trying to work with our specific placements on our solar spiral, so that we can, navigate properly while we're here. A lot of this, you might be drawn to healing work, healing work, spirituality, writing, anything creative. Which will allow the expression of all of that subconscious energy to come forward and to move through you. So yeah, I mean, I can go on for a lot longer with various things. If you have any particular questions about my experience with this placement, or if you want to share any of your experiences, please do leave a comment below. That would be awesome. And so I guess that's it. 21st Century Weaver here, wishing you a very beautiful and harmonious and exciting and transformative summer of 2021.